Welcome to the universe of Dune, written by Frank Herbert, filled with sand, giant sandworms, and most importantly, spice. That also comes from sand. There's a lot of sand in this. Dune is one of my favorite stories of all time. The reason I love Dune so much is because of the vibe. The best way to describe Dune is Game of Thrones in space. When I heard of a story that takes the power dynamics and the political intrigue of Game of Thrones, and then you throw in spaceships, I got a little interested. So when I watched the movie first, thought it was cool, finished the book a few months later, and now I'm preaching to spread the cold of Dune. And don't underestimate the influence of Dune. It was written in the 60s, so it's like the grandfather to a lot of sci-fi stories today. And I want to show you the world of Dune and the people within the Dune universe because it's truly unique. Before I tell you about the interesting parts in Dune, I need to give you some context to understand what I'm even talking about. So I'm going to try to give a solid intro in 60 seconds. A 2.5 hour movie honestly did a mediocre job at giving context, so wish me luck. Dune takes place far in the future and there's interstellar space travel. There's a big space empire with an emperor and a bunch of great houses that make up said empire. In order for the empire to function, there is one product that must flow: the spice melange. The spice is used for space travel, makes you smarter, live longer. Think of it as space cocaine. Where does this spice come from? That's right, this desert planet is called Arrakis. It's also nicknamed Dune, but I'm calling the planet Arrakis so it's a little bit less confusing. Because of the spice, Arrakis is the most important planet in the universe. These jerks, called House Harkonnen, got super rich because they owned Arrakis, but lost the planet. They lost Arrakis because the Emperor gave the planet to House Atreides. Now, Paul Atreides, the heir to House Atreides, has to follow his parents to Arrakis as a storm brews with its sights set on the spice, so they're in danger. I hope that made sense. If you want to know what happens, watch the movie, part 1. Wait for part 2 when it comes out. It's going to be great. Or just read a book that's not assigned to you for once. The technology in Dune is really interesting because it doesn't have any of your typical sci-fi stuff. For example, there aren't really any guns or blasters in Dune. There's energy shields that protect against projectiles. So it's a universe mostly without gun violence. Pretty nice, right? Well, not if knife violence has anything to say about it. A slow-moving blade can go through a shield and kill a person. It makes the fighting in the story really personal and intense. For the record, there are laser guns, but if a person shoots the shield with a laser, it results in a nuclear explosion, so those are mostly off the table. There's also Amazon, sort of. The Space Guild holds a monopoly on space travel and commerce. They share the money with the Emperor and the great houses, but no one tries to oppose them. Even the Emperor needs his 3,000-piece Super Star Destroyer Lego set delivered on time. And one thing you can never get away from in Dune is the spice. This drug is the only way to safely navigate the terrifying void of space. Space navigators get tossed into tanks full of spice and get stupidly high. The best high of their lives allows them to navigate the spaceships. I know, it's weird, but it's space cocaine. What did you expect? And the spice is really addictive because it allows your brain to function a lot better and it helps your health. Paul, the main character, is tripping balls constantly throughout the story because the spice is messing with his mind. I should probably mention these guys. Not only does Arrakis have the most important good in the universe, there are also giant sandworms that eat anything. Look at this shot in the movie. This would make me poop my pants. If that doesn't help, here's a Minecraft example or something. So this is pretty much Dune. It's all deserty and stuff. And oh sh! The sandworms eat spice mining machines and are the primary threat to spice business. So that's mainly the big hurdle of getting spice, is because these sandworms will straight up just eat everything. So as you can tell, Arrakis is a really hard time, but hard times create hard people. The societies and people in Dune are awesome. The 3 main groups in Dune are the Harkonnens, Atreides, and the Fremen. The Harkonnens are your greedy, manipulative, evil faction. They used fear when they were on Arrakis. Their capital planet is a polluted, nasty place. And while the Harkonnens are brutal rulers, they are efficient and very cunning. The Atreides, on the other hand, are loved by the rest of the Empire because they're reliable and really trustworthy. Their capital is a green tropical world that's super nice to live on, and you could argue it made them a little soft. Because when the Emperor gifted them Arrakis, it's a really difficult transition from a wet world to an uncomfortably dry and unforgiving one. And House Atreides had to quickly adapt to the new situation because the spice was a real target on their back. They even try to use their kindness to try to make allies with the Fremen. And the Fremen, as I was kind of really trying to get towards, great transition there. The Fremen are easily the coolest people in the story. And they've lived on Arrakis for thousands of years. And because of their isolation from the Empire, and because of the extremes of Arrakis, they developed into a little bit of a wild society. It's pretty clear there isn't much water on Arrakis. And the Fremen created a bodysuit that retains nearly 100% of the moisture in your body. If they saw you waste water, they would consider feeding you to the worms. Minor spoiler, Paul kills a guy and the Fremen tell him that the guy's water is his. Not a water in a bottle or canteen, the water in his blood. No water can go wasted. They also tell 15-year-old Paul that this guy's wife and 2 sons are now his. which is kind of fun. The Fremen are a very intense people, but Arrakis is a dry hellscape. The environment isn't forgiving, so they aren't either. I realize I could go on for about another 10 minutes about this stuff, but I don't have the time to do that, unfortunately, so I'm probably going to start wrapping it up. I hope you enjoyed some of the wacky and unique things about Dune. The technology in Dune is definitely one of a kind. The wars are more like medieval battles. The most important resource in the known universe is space cocaine. I love saying that word because it's so true in this context of the story. The people in the story have a bunch of different goals because of their allegiances and cultures, and it all unfolds into a beautiful epic that is Dune. Just don't go past the first book because stuff starts to get weird.